Okay. Thank you everyone for attending this evening's special meeting of the Council of the Sale of Gloucestershire Airport. This meeting will be live streamed in the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of the meeting will remain online for 4 years, and if you are present in the chambers, you are consenting to appearing in the recording and broadcast, which may also be used for training purposes. I ask that there are mutual respect and courtesy among all members during this meeting and treat each other as you would like to be expected to be treated yourselves. I would also like to remind fellow councillors to have regard to the 7 principles of public life, also referred to as the Nolan Principles, which are also set out in the Council's adopted Code of Conduct. These are selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a joint decision and you need to consider what is best for Gloucester. I have apologies tonight for Councillor Condor, Councillor Courtney, Councillor Gravels, Councillor Northlees and Councillor O'Donnell. Are there any other apologies?
Yes, Madam Sheriff. Councillor Chambers-Debus, Councillor Marshall and Councillor Millard. Thank you. Any others?
Any others? Thank you. Declarations of interest. Councillor Bowkett and Wiedeholt have both declared an interest in advance by virtue of their appointment of directors of Gloucestershire Airport, and they will not be taking part in the decision-making process. Are there any other declarations of interest? Okay, we'll move on. We will now debate and Councillor Hilton will lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I bet you didn't think you'd be in this seat as early as this in the council year, but I'm sure you're going to do a really good job. I will do, Pam. In bringing this report to council, can I just say that by principle, I'm a reluctant seller of Gloucestershire Airport. I've served on this council for over 30 years, and I've always been very much in support of Gloucestershire Airport in its existence as it is today, and always hope to see the business thrive and strengthen. I served on the Joint Airport Committee back in the 80s and early 90s, and I served on the Gloucestershire Airports Limited Board from 2007 for 8 years, acting as both chair of the board and the vice chair of the board. In May of this year, I became the leader of this council, and one of the things that was on the agenda was a potential sale of Gloucestershire Airport. The first thing I did was suspend that sale to give me time to ask a lot of questions of various people and give us time over a 4-month period to assess the need to put the airport on the market. I made that decision that we needed to do that. It was clear that Cheltenham Borough Council were not interested in retaining ownership of Gloucestershire Airport. It was quite clear that the City Council hadn't the capital to buy them out and to run it ourselves, and certainly we didn't have the capital to carry out the investments that are required to make the airport a success. We know that the airport is running a loss and has been for a number of years. The board has worked really hard to maintain a good operation there, but one of the things that's really making it hard for the airport is the fact that they've got substantial borrowings that they needed to do to borrow in order to invest and maintain the main runway, and we advance funds for that purpose. And they cannot pay back their loans, they cannot pay back the interest, They are unable to pay the rent that they should pay to the landlords of the site, and they haven't paid either Gloucester City Council or Cheltenham Borough Council a dividend for as long as I can remember. And they require substantial capital investment to build a CGX business park, to put up new hangars in the southeast corner, and to acquire operational radar there to make the operations at the airport better for aviation. So there's a lot of things that need to be done. We already had Savills were already appointed by both councils before I took office, and they were then asked to go ahead with the sale of the airport. What I did do in that time, and what helped having that 4 months, the data room, all the information that any buyer would want, it was populated to a much better condition than it was at May 2024. So that's helped sell the airport and make sure that we got the best offer price. So we also made sure that the sales documentation clearly emphasised that we were selling it as an operational airport. And those that took an interest in it for other reasons, for estate reasons, were removed from the shortlisting process and weren't given access to the data room. It was only those that were seriously interested in operating an airport at Staverton. There's also, we made more emphasis on clarity on the fact that there will be covenants in place to protect the airport and protect the operations there, and any developments that take place on that site mustn't hinder the operational aspects of the airport. They mustn't hinder the flights in and out on the two main runways. They must continue as an operational airport. And there's also going to be overage charges. We made that clear. So that means that if at any stage in the future the airport were to cease and the land was sold off for other purposes, for an increased value, we would get a share of that. So we are protecting our interest in the airport land as well. So it went to market in October of last year. It was a two-stage process. So it went through the first stage by January, and then there was a second stage where a shortlisted number, I think it was 5, applied, and then at the second stage, it was whittled down to 2, and on the 6th of May, myself and the leader of Cheltenham Borough Council plus officers interviewed both the applicants that were interested in operating the airport. And we're recommending that the applicant bid 1 is accepted. The bid price is greater than the offer price of 25
Councillor
million.
Hilton, you've gone over 5 minutes.
I think this is a bit too important to switch off early.
That's fine.
Does council agree that the mover can
Sorry,
does council agree that the mover
Does-
can have longer to introduce the motion?
does council agree that the mover can have longer to move the motion? Thank you. Carry on.
So there was 2 bids that we interviewed on the 6th of May. We're recommending bid 1. Both offers for greater than the offer price of £25 million. So both of them are greater than that sum. I can't tell you precisely how much. That's still confidential, commercially confidential. There was a clear investment plan from both of them, but the investment plan on bid 1 looked to be much more sound and secure. And they both had aviation experience, but again, bid 1 had stronger aviation experience in other parts of the planet, let's put it that way. And of course, bid 1 was 70% equity against 30% borrowing. The other one was the other way around, so 70% borrowing. That means the danger of bid 2 is that you would have had a new operator that was geared too great, and they would have borrowing to pay back, which the first bid doesn't have because they've got the equity to put in the business, their own money. They're not borrowing as much money to do that. So can I just say, that's the recommendation. I want to thank everyone involved. That's the officers that have been working on it. That's the advisors and the consultants that have helped us with the purchase, and also all of the bidders who put in the bid. I'll now just read out the recommendation, because what we're not talking about is, let me read it out. please note that appendix one, well, I've got it here. That the council is asked to resolve that delegated authority be given to the managing director in consultation with the chief finance officer and the leader of the council to complete the sale to the recommended bidder, bid one as identified in appendix 2, subject to final due diligence. It should take about 12 weeks. The bidder wants to complete in 12 weeks, and during that period, issues about the covenants and overage charges is something I'm going to keep an eye on, close attention to make sure that's there. And officers work with Cheltenham Borough Council to take the disposal through to solicitors and completion of the sale. When the sale goes through, the cash sum would come to both councils. It would first of all pay off the debts. It's in the report. It would pay off the loans that they have, and then what's left of the investment that we get would then be shared equally between the two councils and just goes generally into our accounts, and it will help support the council's operations. It might help towards further capital investment somewhere else or whatever, but that's how it would operate. I think that's all I need to say, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Sorry. Do you,
I'll speak now.
wait, do you wish to speak now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Sheriff. Or is it Deputy Mayor? I don't know.
As Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
That's the role to me.
Okay. I would like to second the recommendations we have in front of us. Although I would like to emphasise that this is done with a certain measure of regret, but nonetheless one that needs to be done if we're going to approach this issue with the pragmatism that we need to. This council has been a joint owner of Gloucestershire Airport since 1936. So that gives us 90 years of history. In this time, the airport has always been an important regional asset, supporting jobs, training, business growth and connectivity for Gloucester and the wider county. The high quality jobs it has helped sustain has been a major part of our local economy throughout this time. However, the world has changed. The economic realities have changed, and most importantly, the needs of the airport have changed. If you look at the report in front of us, you will see that the airport requires substantial investment just to maintain the current operation, but also to transform it into a commercially viable business that can thrive in the years ahead. We're talking about significant capital for, amongst other things, a new radar facility, upgrades to attract different types of aircraft, and development of the CGX site. These will hopefully unlock future employment potential, but we need to be blunt here. We do not have the capital ourselves to do this, nor do we have the in-house aviation or property management expertise needed to realise that transformation. To continue as owners would not be just a standstill, it would also risk decline and ultimately closure. Once Cheltenham announced their decision last year, we did initially look at different options, including a joint venture with another third party or partial disposal. But these were considered too risky. The do-nothing option, simply maintaining the status quo, we also ruled out because it would lead to ongoing losses and potentially force the airport to shut down entirely. Over the past year, both this administration and the previous one, together with our partners in Cheltenham, have looked hard at this issue. We have undertaken a thorough competitive marketing process, advised by experts all the way, and have arrived at an outcome that has produced a credible, experienced preferred bidder, who not only offers strong financial value, but also a commitment to invest in and grow the airport while safeguarding its long-term future. This isn't an easy decision, especially with our joint history. We appreciate the role the airport plays in our local economy, so we must be pragmatic. Our role as a council is to ensure services are sustainable and assets are properly managed. Sometimes that means stepping aside to let others with the necessary resources take the lead. Let me be clear, this is not about walking away from our responsibilities. It's about recognising our limits and choosing the option that gives Gloucestershire Airport the best chance to grow, to support jobs and to contribute to the regional economy, not just for the next few years, but for decades to come. I would therefore urge members to support the two recommendations before us tonight. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. We now move on to public questions. We have three questions this evening from David Ridgewell. Would you like to say if you've got any supplementary questions at all?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I think the concern that we have as transport user groups is the covenant. How strong will that covenant be against future development, bearing in mind that this council will probably not be here in about 18 months, 2 or 3 years, and we're not talking about the future of Gloucester City Council or the future of Cheltenham Borough Council, but we're talking about the future of a Gloucester Unitary Council of some description. So how, in the legal documents, are we making sure that the successor authority, which I imagine it will be, are actually going to take account of protecting that airport as an operational airport? And equally, that covenant, is it strong enough to prevent a future unitary Gloucestershire Council? Because that's the direction of travel. The Labour government's not going away, and that's what they're going to do. So is that going to prevent housing development of this city region from happening? Is the covenant strong enough to prevent housing, which are quite serious issues to the residents of both Gloucester, Cheltenham and Tewkesbury Borough? I notice it's not in the structure plan, Madam Mayor, but it's about the future, not about the past and future of Gloucester and Cheltenham councils going.
Thank you. That's a question for the leader, the council. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, David. Like I said, the covenants and overage charges will be robust. They will be negotiated in detail with the potential buyer. They're serious about operating the airport. Those legal agreements that we have as a city council and Cheltenham Borough have as a council as well with the new purchaser of Gloucestershire Airport would be transferred over directly to any new local authority that were to take place, that would succeed this city council or succeed any. I think as far as the model that we might get, 3 or 4 models are being produced at the moment, and we'll see what the submissions are in November. And then, of course, we won't know what the government's response will be until next year. By that time, the airport will have been sold. So the agreement is between the purchasers and Gloucester City Council and Cheltenham Borough Council, and those legal agreements will be impossible to change without agreement of one side or the other. So the new council that would replace this one would have that responsibility, but anything that was anybody wanted to change that would be a matter of negotiations between the new operators of Gloucestershire Airport and the new freeholders and any authority that supersedes this council or Cheltenham Borough Council. So the legislation in changing local authorities would carry that out. It's not something that needs to be in the legal documents itself.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a second supplementary question?
Our second supplementary question is about both access for staff and employees. One is the duplication, and the second is making sure that there is a green travel plan if the airport is to expand, that making sure that they're committed to walking, cycling and improving the public transport to and from the airport if there was commercial flights, or if there are a need for further growth and further employment, protecting the people that work there and giving the option to travel to and from Gloucester and Cheltenham and Tewkesbury by public transport. Is that being looked at?
Councillor Hilton.
I understand there are 53 members of staff at the moment working for Gloucestershire Airport Limited, and they will be transferred over to work for the new owners, so their jobs are secure. As far as any travel plans, there would not be any need for changing the travel plans at the moment, unless, of course, there was planning applications or developments that would take place for new hangars, new businesses operate at CGS big business park, and that would, at the moment, would be a matter I would have thought for Tewkesbury Borough Council. But we are selling the airport to a company that will operate, and it will be their responsibility to deal with things like that and to engage with the appropriate local authority at the time.
Mr Ridgewell, do you have a third supplementary question? Got a third? Have you got a third supplementary question?
Yeah, I think the other third final bit of the question is the covenant, which is of concern. What length of period would the covenant be in operation? Is it going to be about 150 years, which a lot of local authorities use, or is it going to be longer? Because our concern is obviously about a growth of a city region and the government's targets for providing more and more housing, which we welcome, but not on the airport.
I think at one stage it was suggested in the sales literature that it would be 30 years. I got that removed. I understand the maximum limit we can possibly do on this sale is 50 years. And therefore, to go further than that would be most difficult thing to do with a sale with the airport operators. But we do know, when we've seen the investment plan that they have, and their keenness to operate the airport. You know, nothing's 100% certain. Nothing's 100% certain. But I'm confident that the new owners of Gloucestershire Airport objective is to run a generally aviation airport and make a success of it. There are people that have been involved in operating other airports, and there are people that came to see us who are pilots, etc., etc. So that, you know, anybody that has any hint of just wanting to operate it and close it down for other purposes was removed from the shortlist. So we got to the shortlist of 2 companies or sets of people that were keen to run an airport. So we've done everything we possibly can. And let's put it this way, the odds of Gloucestershire Airport surviving under this sale, I would say, are considerably better than if we were to reject the sale and try to carry on running the airport along with Cheltenham Borough Council. That's more likely to put the airport into a position of going into the red. It's already operating in the red at the moment, and we will be in danger of seeing its closure within the next couple of years for sure. So we are making a decision which is the best decision we can possibly make to secure the future of Gloucestershire Airport and to see it thrive.
Thank you. We are now open to debate.
In a
Councillor
nice way.
Tracy,
Sorry?
carry on.
Thank you. Right, you're... Sorry? Yeah, hang on a minute. I've got to get up first.
Well, Pam, would you like
No, I'm going to start it, yeah. Right, Jeremy, I know we've had discussions about this before and it's been going on for a few years. Your really gut feeling is, with no qualms and background and forthcoming, that it's right, as this council, as you leader, be the right thing to sell the airport. And I know I brought up before about covenants and everything else. And that's still, you know, that just niggles me a bit. And also, with the people like working there, obviously there'll be more people coming in. Now, I'm right in thinking it's not a passengers New Yorker airport, you know, so we've got to get that under our belt too. And like the talk about travel plan, and you're right to bring it to the table, but I don't think there'll be more footfall going there than what there is at the moment. Because it's a big decision for this council, Deputy Mayor, isn't it? So we've got to get it right. And I want to make sure that, you know, you guys sit there and make sure we gather as much depth what is owed us into it. We don't want Cheltenham getting there a little bit as well. We want to go 50-50. And we're going to put you in if this goes through. I think it answers Gloucestershire. It's a right spot. And it's open space. And I remember when we used to have the air tattoos and everything else there. We can't, I mean, we don't need houses, but all that, then we'll go back onto traffic and everything else. I think this airport is needed, but we really got to tick and cross everything. So really, this council is in your hands. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Would you like to?
I'll answer each one.
Okay. Councillor Stephanie Chambers.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There was something that I was looking for clarification on, really, in regards to what the leader stated, that my understanding from reading the report is any money that will come back to this city council will be ring-fenced for capital receipts to capital, but you mentioned it might be for other than that, for services, etc. So I just wanted to confirm that is the case, and I can see Declan saying it is right. So this money will only go into capital funding. Oh, right, okay, sorry. But I'll leave that to any response, because it does say in there, I think it was in 10.1, that it will be into a capital fund. So, yeah, just clarification on that. So the covenants are reassuring, and I understand that the covenants and the overage contain the whole red line of the whole plot that we're selling. So I'd like to know the overage and the covenant, what the timescales on those are. I know you mentioned 50 years, but quite often overages and covenants are confused in what they are. So I just wanted to check how long they both last for. And my understanding is that covenants, a purchaser can come back at any point and ask the person that made that covenant to reduce that and change that, or they can take it to a high court, etc. So what's stopping somebody within this council, if this council exists, or if the county council or becomes a unitary, whatever, to sign off and say, actually, it's only been 5 years, but yeah, you can have permission now to build houses everywhere. So I just wanted to see what the legals would say about that. And this is asking for a recommendation to approve delegated authority. At what point because there's a data room, and I understand that data room was a very good data room and covered a lot of things, but at what point would you think, actually, these negotiations aren't going along the same lines of what this report and all the documents that we've all been given access to, the exempt documents, actually, it seems to be coming away from that in these negotiations? At what point would you think about bringing that back to council? Because quite often, like you said, negotiations, things could get watered down, the covenants, and are the covenants, was the wording in the data room, or is that still to be negotiated? And I'm out of time, but broadly, we were in support of this happening when we were in administration. Obviously, there's a lot of detail that's gone by since then. So I just want reassurance that everything is going to be as it is in this document, and some clarification on some of the points in the overage and covenants.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers.
Councillor Pullen, no?
Councillor Pullen, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The financial description from Councillor Wilson and Councillor Hilton I felt was quite generous. Let's be frank. The airport's been a financial noose around this council's neck for years. Loss after loss, loan after loan, director after director, year after year. I've sat in loads of overview and scrutiny committee meetings where we've had reports from officers, from directors, wanting to make improvements, endless promises, and despite loads of money being thrown at it from the taxpayers in Gloucester, no outcome. The airport could have been sold off years ago. Under the leadership of Councillor Stevens and Councillor Smith, discussions were had with Cheltenham Borough Council and with this council and Pam will remember, and Andy may well remember, but they were ditched by Cheltenham Borough Council, ditched by Gloucester City Council, and with respect, ditched by Councillor Hilton. So where we are, a mismanaged, run-down airport, probably worth a fraction of what it would have been if it was sold in the late 90s, and probably, and certainly in significantly less debt. We've got no real option now but to sell the airport. We are disappointed, though, that our ask of a full economic assessment hasn't been realised. I am not sure what consultation has taken place with the businesses at the airport, but from what I hear, there is significant disquiet from those operators at the airport. And there's no question this is a U-turn by Councillor Hilton. The Labour group, however, will be supporting the sale of the airport. We have no choice. It's not a viable option. It needs significant money, significant investment, and we cannot expect council taxpayers in Gloucester to keep bailing out this airport at millions and millions of pounds. We want to see it continue as an airport. We understand there are covenants in place, and we expect a guarantee that those will be upheld so that it can't be sold off for any other purpose. It's the only way forward to protect jobs and to protect businesses at the airport and to ensure, frankly, significant investment in the airport, which this council doesn't have, neither does Cheltenham Borough Council. And as I said, we cannot expect council taxpayers to keep bailing out this airport at millions and millions of pounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pullen. Any other questions? Councillor Bell, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Wow, what a strange situation we find ourselves. What on earth are we running an airport for? I'm a councillor for the Grange Estates. I'm not running an airport. We don't need an airport. The nearest airport to us that is enormous and can take massive loads is the Cotswold Airport. Don't talk to me about jobs. They're building the two biggest units you've ever seen built in Gloucester down at Harescombe at the moment. Those jobs can be relocated quite easily. We need houses. This land is available, 12,500 houses. The party to my left, their lovely person, Angela Rayner, wants to build houses everywhere. Well, this is our perfect chance. This is the most expensive piece of land ever become for sale in Gloucestershire. And all we're doing is we're allowing it to be a private flying club, because that's all it is. Oh, yes, you can get the Guernsey and you can do this, but I've never seen a B-52, a C-15. I've never seen a decent aircraft land on it. So as far as I'm concerned, we sell it and the taxpayers' money comes back to the Gloucester City residents that we've been paying for it for the last 40 years. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other questions? Right.
Thank you very much. I wasn't going to say anything, but my party here know what my feelings are. And this is a no-brainer. We've got no choice. You know, I muted selling it years ago when I was a young lad. But this is, we get ourselves out of debt. We provide a load of jobs and security. The covenant, which could be 50 years, which we don't know what's going to happen in the future. It might be sold, it might go bankrupt, we don't know. But we have to do what we can do now. Now, I trust old Jane over there, she's, you know, she knows what she's talking about. And our officers know what they're talking about. And at the moment, we're providing, it's going to be providing jobs and more investment. And that's all we can do as a council. You know, we in the city of Gloucester have got not enough room for houses. And that would come under Tewkesbury anyway. So just let's have a bit of voice of reason. Let's say, right, that's it. We don't know what we're doing when we're doing airports. We haven't got a clue. So let's just divest of ourselves of this
how should we say, ball and chain, and just get back to what we know how to do to run this city. That's all we need to do, and I should be definitely voting for it, and I hope everybody else will at the same time.
Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. All I wanted to say on the matter was Council announced in 2019 a climate emergency, 1.5 degrees C to stay alive. Expansion of private jets and lifestyle at odds with decarbonisation of the region by 2045, unless you're outsourcing future emissions. And then bid one must be using scientific-based targets to reduce reliance on fossil fuels.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Alistair Chambers, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've actually taken off and landed on the airport, and I'm quite fond of the place, but listening to Andy, it does make sense. I think we've got 4,000 houses we need built to cover the shortfall in housing, homelessness, and people that are sofa surfing in our city. And that's not going to go anywhere else. And it's always that, never is, and not in my back garden. This is the perfect place for it. In 50 years, being told that 50 years is the longest period, it's not. Under the Section 84 of the Law and Property Act 1925, landowners can bind future landowners in forever. There's no absolute time limit. So 50 years is absolutely ridiculous. You're giving away city residents, people out the window here, their property, their asset, for a mere, 33 million? I'm guessing that figure, by the way, because all the way through the documents, everything's redacted. So we're here to bid, we're here to vote on the selling of the airport, and no one knows actually how much we're selling it for. We're here to get rid of the airport, and we don't know what the value we're selling it for. We're here to get rid of the airport and sell it on, but we don't know the clarifications of the overage. Is it on development? Is it on planning? No one knows really what's going on, and it's absolutely ridiculous. We're here to even vote for something that we don't even know the reality of. I've looked through every page of the exempt papers, and there's no information there at all. Anything of any value or substance has been redacted. It's just a complete waste of time. And I think it's a sham. I think the people of Gloucester are getting ripped off. I think the people of Gloucester are getting robbed. You can look at 1.2 million per acre on 350 acres. That's 437 million pounds the residents of this city could be getting. On 3 million pounds an acre, that's 1 billion pounds the residents of this city could get in. That would make us one of the most affluent areas in Gloucestershire. Yeah, you could do your Greater Gloucester, you know, but we're not. We're giving it away for pennies. We borrowed 110 million for the forum, 110 million. We're giving this away for what, circular 30 million? It's an absolute joke. It's a sham. We could be getting £1 billion for this land. Anyone that votes for the sale of it is at 50 years here is letting the residents down. And I beg you to rethink. And the terms, really, I hope somebody could put a motion forward that the terms of the overage is on there for life, not just for 50 years. Because otherwise, if I had 30 million in my back pocket, I'd be investing in the airport and purchasing it because it's probably one of the best purchases ever. 50 years' time, you've got £1 billion back. Yeah, better than putting on any stocks and shares, and that's guaranteed. And there's nothing anyone can do about it, the sale of it in 50 years' time. So I think it's actually appalling. And I think shame on you if you vote for the sale of it. I think we should sell it ourselves for land and housing.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor James?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As a member of the Labour Group, I'm pleased that this site will remain an airport. I think that's important to maintain the jobs and the facilities in the area. I just want to reiterate, and I won't go into detail what other members have said here, though, that it is important that these covenants are strong, that they protect the area, and that the overage is something that will come back to this council once the land is sold, because eventually it will be sold for housing. I don't believe it's going to remain an airport forever. But the important thing is that when that time comes, this council gets a receipt of whatever that money is so that it comes back to the residents of Gloucester. Thank you.
Councillor James. Councillor Patel?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it is very disappointing and unfortunate to be in this position that we are in. But we are where we are. And as my colleague just alluded to, the jobs, the people that are working there, 53 members of staff who work at the airport, not only those staff, but then there's a supply chain, it can go a long way. So the impact of this airport goes a lot further beyond the runway itself, so to speak. What is also disappointing is that Councillor Gravels, being the chair of the ONF committee, asked the Cheltenham Council for a meeting with regard to the disposal of the airport, being one of the partners with us who own the asset. Apparently, I gather that we had given them 15 different dates, 15 dates, to have a meeting with us. And sadly, they couldn't make a single one of those dates, which I find quite outrageous and appalling, and an insult on the public finance and democracy. And the fact that they are happy to have this scrutiny meeting after the decision we're making tonight on the disposal of it, it makes a mockery. It really does. And I think someone needs to go back to Cheltenham Borough Council and say, excuse me, this is not on. And if this is how you want to work with us in future, then it's not right. It absolutely isn't. Where's the collaborative working? Where's the partnership working? They're our neighbours. Sooner or later, we are going to be one unitary council, are we not? So I'm really disappointed on that, and I think we need to go back and tell them that, because that is unacceptable. And yes, financially, we can't keep pumping taxpayers' money, millions and millions of pounds, into the airport when it's running at a loss year after year after year. So we get to a point where we have to say, enough is enough, and we have to walk away from it and recoup whatever we can from the sale. So I think, unfortunately, as it may be, I think now is the right time to sort of part with it and go in a separate direction into the horizon. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
Back to Councillor Hilton to sum up.
Okay. Would you like to sum up, Councillor Hilton?
Yeah, I think looking at some of the points made, I think Pam talked about, was my gut feeling, this was the right thing to do at this point in time. And I would say yes. I thought about it really long, hard, and it took 4 months before I made a decision to agree with Cheltenham Borough Council to actually put the airport on the market until I checked up all the possible options. I did my homework, and one of the most important things is not, there's a lot of people talking about building houses here. There's other land in the county for housing. The issue here, there's an operational airport here. There's a lot of businesses based here. And that the businesses that are based here benefit from it. There's jobs that benefit from it. It provides diversity to our economy, which it wouldn't do if it was closed. It's right next to Doughty Roadhall. It's got aviation-based businesses there. They benefit from the airport, and it provides that thing. As far as the capital investment it comes back as capital. Capital can have one thing. One, because they'll be paying back the loan. Our borrowing for that loan won't happen any longer. We'll have cleared that debt. We borrowed the money to pay for it. One of the problems in operating it is that we cannot do what other owners would do, is get a dragon in to put some extra money into the business and take equity in it. They can't do that in a way that private operators can do. Terry talks about Kevin Stevens wanting to sell it. I remember Kevin Stevens was the leader of this council. He sold Westgate car park for £1 to build a hotel on it, and due diligence wasn't done at all, and it cost us £1 million to buy it back. Due diligence has been done on this occasion. When it comes to overage and covenant, I can guarantee you I'll be asking John McGinty on a regular basis and the officers, and some of these are questions you make are technical ones. I'm not a professional, to make sure that these overage charges and these covenants are as strong as possible. I have been told by those who've been helping with the sale that they will be very tough clauses in the sales document. So I'm believing what they say. I'll be checking what they say before it's signed off in probably about 12 weeks' time. There's a lot of point about this is losing millions. When I was the chair of the board, it wasn't losing millions. It was making a small black line profit. It had a problem of a deficit because of the local government pension fund, but that was a technicality. It was making an operational profit. What has hit the airport
Sorry, Councillor
in recent days
Councillor Hilton.
yeah, it's an important
Are
thing.
you, I know, are you happy to continue for Councillor Hilton to continue? Fine, that's fine. Please continue.
Yeah, and I've lost my train. what I was trying to say, I think Andy Lewis is right. It's a no-brainer. I think we ought to understand that this process was started by Cheltenham Borough Council and the previous Conservative administration, and I double-checked it. If you remember rightly, in September 2023, I asked questions at council which exposed the plans that the two councils were having to sell the airport. I think in doing that, I've made sure that this sale is much more robust than it ever would have been. It wasn't just a quick sale. Alistair talks about billions of pounds. It's not worth anywhere near that as land value. And two, when we looked at it back in 2017, and members of this council can look at that document, it made it clear that you couldn't realise that capital value because you would have to close the airport down. You would have to negotiate the surrender of leases. And in doing so, you would put the airport into a bigger deficit than it had. And in 2017, it was operating at a balanced position. So the point there is that you cannot realise that asset in a way unless, of course, you just bust the business overnight and allow all the other businesses that are around it to fold as well. And that is not fair. So you've got this way, we've done it. And as I've said, there'll be overage charges. So you will be able to recover that if this would happen. But give me an opportunity to work with the officers because we're just agreeing to negotiate the deal, the basic deal with the company that are wishing to operate it. There are 400 or 500 odd jobs at the airport. There's 53 jobs operating at the airport itself, direct jobs. Yes, Sarge, we are where we are. The Conservatives have been running this council for 20 years. You had the position as the shareholder. I didn't have the position as a shareholder. I have now that position. I represent the shareholders along with Rowan and Hay when we're discussing those things. So, and Councillor Gravels, he was asking about the sale. When he's talking about scrutiny, the position on the sale is that we had last week a full and frank briefing where questions could be asked and answered, and by either myself or by officers, and officers were providing those technical things. That is where the scrutiny was done ahead of this council meeting. And you, Councillor Patel, asked quite a lot.
This up now?
In actual fact, you
Councillor
asked
Hilton.
more than one question twice.
Move to the vote.
Thank you. Can we please move to the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Those in favour.
Those in favour?
Well, no, we're moving to the vote.
No, we're moving to the vote.
Shall we have a recorded vote?
You stand up to do that.
Can we have a recorded vote?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, that's agreed. Thank you. So we've been asked to hold a recorded vote.
This is going to be a recorded vote. Okay, we've been asked for a recorded vote. So
I'll read out the names next.
okay. So who is for?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Madam Deputy Mayor, if you're happy, I will read out the names. If you can answer whether you are for or against the motion or abstain. Councillor Castle.
For.
Hilton. Wilson. Field. Sawyer. Shervey. Trimnell. Stephanie Chambers. Pullen. Alistair Chambers. Tracy. Lewis. Barmia. Patel. Brooker. Hyman. Bradley. Campbell. Bell. Graham. Graham's not here. Harris. Highland. James. Jones. Miller. Sims. Taylor. Walker.
So there's 25 for and 2 against. That motion is carried. Thank you.
And that's the end of the meeting.
And that's the close of the meeting. Thank you all very much.